Hey, Jody Holland here with the Psyche of Success vlog. I'm really glad to have you guys back on this episode. This is a good one. This is groupthink, or AKA how and why people make bad decisions at work and in life. When you start thinking about the decisions that you make, you think, why didn't that work? Well, we're going to talk about the model to get you where you want to be on this episode. Make sure you look in the description, follow the vlog. Make sure you also share it with your friends. I also would love to see you on Twitterland at Jody N. Holland. Follow me on Facebook, like my page, Jody Holland Training and Speaking, and send me your questions after this episode. success@jodyholland.com. Let's get right into it. This is one of the chapters out of Yay, I'm a Supervisor. Oh man, I'm a Supervisor, and it's titled Groupthink. When you start thinking about why people make bad decisions, you see that the main reason is we have a lack of clarity of what we're trying to accomplish. If you learn the right skills in problem solving, if you've learned how to set your goals in the right way and communicate properly, in coaching you learn how to set clear expectations, you shouldn't have much of a problem here. But you also find yourself at times deceiving yourself. You go to a meeting, you've got a really strong leader that says, guys, I've got a great idea. It's awesome. I was up all night. It's going to be amazing. But I want your honest feedback. Do they really want our honest feedback? No. What they want is our affirmation that this is the direction that they should go. So we deceive ourselves and go, well, I couldn't share information, so we're doing that. As the leader, we deceive ourselves by going, well, nobody disagreed, so they must have agreed. That groupthink as a phenomenon is when people come into a meeting and we have an idea and we go with that idea, but as soon as everybody leaves the meeting, they agree in a different direction. They just didn't speak up during the meeting. We externally deceive ourselves as leaders when we're not aware of the response patterns in our team. If you're watching the nonverbals, what you'll see is people will give away their cues or their tells that they disagree with you. You share an idea and they go, just like that. Just a little wince will say, I don't agree with that. But if you're not paying attention, you're going to go back and go, they all loved it. It was amazing. And you're wrong. You have to be able to step back from yourself and go, what do I want here? I want the best decision and I want success for the organization. I don't need it to just be about my ego. I need it to be about winning. In the book, The Abilene Paradox and Other Management Thoughts, the author talks about the fact that we so often deceive ourselves on decision making. George Harvey talks about the fact that from Coleman, Texas to Abilene, roughly 42 miles, there was this group in the 1950s, this father, this mother, this daughter, and a son-in-law. They're all sitting on the porch. It's a really hot West Texas day, and the father looks over at the son-in-law and says, if you want to, we could go to the Dixie Pig for lunch. It's a Saturday. It's hot as heck. It's the 1950s, no AC in the house, and no AC in the car. The son-in-law doesn't like the Dixie Pig and doesn't want to go there. By the way, I lived behind the Dixie Pig when I was in college in Abilene. It's on Butternut Street, great place to eat. The food is phenomenal and greasy as all get out. So the son-in-law though says, yeah, if that's what you want to do, I'd be okay with that. He turns to his bride who says, well, if you boys want to go, that'd be fine with me. The mother-in-law is walking out about that time and she says, well, I was going to make sandwiches, but if you would prefer to go to the Dixie Pig, we can do that. So they get in the car. Right as they get to the edge of Coleman, a West Texas dust storm kicks up. Hot as all get out in that car because the windows had to go up. And if you're old enough to know that this is how you cranked windows, that was the motion I was making. So 100 plus degrees outside, 50 miles an hour because you don't want to stress the engine. They make it over to Abilene about an hour later. They wait in line to get a booth. They finally get seated. It takes 15 minutes to get them some water. It takes another 30 minutes to get their food. Every order is wrong. It was a horrible experience. They end up paying the check and leaving, all frustrated, smelling of grease, cigarette smoke, and armpit. Those are not good combinations. Climb back in the car. Luckily in Abilene, no dust storm. Windows down, head back towards Coleman. Edge of town, windows back up, there's the dust storm. They get all the way back, they stink, they're mad, and they're walking back to the porch where there's no dust storm in Coleman, and the father-in-law looks at the son-in-law and says, I can't believe you wanted to go to the Dixie Pig. And the son-in-law loses it. He's like, I cannot hold my tongue anymore. He looks at his father-in-law and goes, me? It was your stupid idea to go there in the first place. The daughter goes, don't talk to my dad that way. It was your idea. I only said I'd go because you wanted to. The mother starts bursting into tears and goes, I wanted to make sandwiches. Who wanted to go? If you really look at the story, nobody wanted to go. The father-in-law said, if you want to. The son-in-law said, if that's what you want, that's okay. His bride said, if you boys want to, I'm okay with it. And the mother-in-law said, I wanted to make sandwiches, but if that's what you want, okay. Nobody actually agreed. Yet nobody disagreed either. So what they had was a case of mismanaged agreement. That's when we have to step back and we have to think. The acronym for today is T for talk it through. You have to talk through what's actually going on, and you have to be willing to be honest. If you're not willing to be honest with one another, you're going to suffer from groupthink. You as a leader have to set it up so it's okay for people to be honest. Build that trusting culture, that right environment. The H is have a clear understanding. You have to have an understanding of what you're trying to accomplish or what decision you're making. What you were really deciding in that story was, where do we want to eat? If you would have just asked the question, we could go to the Dixie Pig, but I'd like your ideas. Where do you guys want to eat? I guarantee you the son-in-law would have said, I'd really like to eat here. I don't want to go anywhere. The daughter would have said, me too. I would prefer just some sandwiches. And the mother-in-law go, oh goody, that's what I wanted to do was make sandwiches. Now everybody's happy because you have a clear understanding of what you're really doing. In the beginning, they thought, am I just agreeing and affirming with the father, or do I have a say in what's about to happen? The I in think is investigate all possibilities. Use problem solving if you need to, but lay out your options. If you would have said, look, let's take 2 minutes and brainstorm what restaurants we could go to. I want to go out to eat. I don't want to eat here at the house. Well, we could go to a Subway, we could do this, and I know there wasn't a Subway at that point in Coleman or in Abilene, but you have all of these options that you could do, and you map out the options so that you can make an informed decision. The N is never dodge a good discussion. You need conflict. Conflict creates good decision making. Without conflict, without disagreement, you're not on the same page with anyone. But positive conflict is about behaviors and outcomes, not people. So focus on behaviors and outcomes, focus on making the right decision to get the right behaviors and the right outcomes, and keep it centered on that. You need conflict though, or you won't make a good decision. The way that you can create positive conflict is you can say, okay, we're gonna divide the group up. You two over here, you're the devil's advocates, disagree with everything. You two agree with everything. You're for everything that we're gonna do. You do your discussion, these people disagree, these people agree, and halfway through you flip-flop. Now, you are the positive people and you are the devil's advocates. By doing that, you make it okay for your people at work to disagree with stuff, whereas they would have held their tongue and not shared their opinion. Map it out so that it works the most effectively and gets you the best result. Finally, the K, know your desired outcomes. You have to know what it is you're trying to accomplish. We're trying to make a decision about where we will be happy eating lunch. Great, now we know what we're trying to do. When you're thinking through the decisions that you're making, what you're doing is realizing, I'm mapping this out in a predictable manner. Groupthink happens in meetings more than anywhere else. So often we have a strong leader that has a set opinion or that is domineering, or if you disagree, you go, no, this is what we're doing. They didn't give you a chance to have a good discussion, they didn't have good conflict, they didn't have anything right, and therefore they will do almost everything wrong. They'll live in their own little bubble, their own little world where they think that everything is awesome, but everything is not awesome. They'll have turnover, they'll have dissension, they'll have disagreement, and as soon as people are out of that meeting, that's when they share their real opinion. The 4 types of meetings that we have where we can have possibilities of groupthink, M is make sure we're on the same page meetings. We have this meeting, I would call it a stand-up meeting, where at the beginning of the day, we just go around the circle and everybody describes what they've got going on for the day. We're on the same page to make sure we're making decisions related to where we want to go with our goal setting. The first E in there is engage in discussions about short-term goals. This is your weekly staff meeting, typically 30 minutes long. It needs an agenda. You have to have an agenda for this and the next meetings to make sure that you only talk about what's really important. What happened in the last week, what happens in the next week, Are we on target for where we're going? The next E is engage in discussions about long-term strategy. Once a quarter, you need to get together, maybe once a month if you're a little more aggressive about this. Map out your annual goals and where you are in that continuum of accomplishing those goals. If you'll do this, you'll stay on track, you'll have your eyes wide open like we talked about in a previous vlog, and you'll make sure that you're doing what you need to. Have an agenda and have good discussions. Particularly when you get to long-term strategy, you have to be open that your idea in the past may have been the wrong one, and you need to modify the idea, change it completely, or start from scratch. When you're open about this and you're willing to have good conflict and you think through what you're doing with your decision making, you have the best decision possible. Finally, the T, talk about your annual goals and objectives. My recommendation is that your leadership team needs to go away for a retreat, 1, 2, maybe 3 days, but no more than that, where you talk about everything you did in the last year, everything you want to do for the next year, and you start mapping out your goals, your plans, and your strategy, or your GPS for finding success. Decision making, goal setting, conflict resolution, all of these are tying together. I use what I call the stacked learning model. The reason that this book was written in the fashion that it was and in the order that it was is you're learning these skills in the order that you need to know them in order to be the most successful. Make sure you take the time to go through every one of these videos in order and go through the book in order. Also, I really encourage you to look at the discussion questions at jodyholland.com/yaysupervisor.html. Check the description, you'll see how to subscribe, you'll see how to share this video, and you'll find ways that you can improve your life and make everything better. I'm Jody Holland with the Psyche of Success. I cannot wait to see you next time, and I can't wait to hear your questions. Send them to success@jodyholland.com. We'll see you next time.